Hey y'all, it's Hot Rod here. So I've got this project that I've been asked to do. Well, actually, I've offered to do it, but I've got this friend of mine who Emily Gartner that has a sewing and alterations, like a seamstress business, and she needs a nice table, like a work table. So I'm going to try to build her one. Put some flair on it, put my thing on it, what I do. And design it. I mean, it's pretty simple, but I'm going to put some curves in it, and I'm not sure how this is going to work out, so this is the very beginning before I've really done anything. It may be a total mess, but at least this is the beginning, and you can kind of see. So what I've got here is I'm going to make the base of it out of steel, and then I'm going to put wood on the tops. But I'm going to use steel because I like that industrial look. It's just something that tells me use steel on the bottom. It'll be stronger and take abuse more than wood will. And sure, I could make it, straight legs, make it real simple. Some people would even do a pipe type thing. Yeah, I could do that, but I don't want to do it. I want to put some curves in it and make it kind of visually interesting, So, so this is, like I said, the start of the project, and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to do wood on the top, and we'll talk about that later. But it's got to be utilitarian. But I want it to have some bling. But the utilitarian, it's got to be functional, and that has to come first over any styling on it. So let me give you pictures of what I got here. So here is my drawing that I draw. Now, I don't normally draw things out. Most of the time, I have it up here in my head, and I'm able to kind of work through it, like in my imagination. But on this project, the reason why I drew it out, because there's so much going on that I can't remember it and keep track of it in my mind. So I need to jot it down so I can have a little reference then to, bounce my thoughts back off of. So this is what I've drawn up so far, and this is by no means to scale, but it just gives me an idea of how I want to, do this. So I've got this this channel iron right here, 1.5 inch channel. And I kind of wanted I-beam, but I couldn't get any in the size that I wanted. So I'm going to use the channels, the next best thing. And my start of the whole project is I want to bend these legs up right here. And this will be an end view of it. And it'll be a 6 foot by 6 foot table. And these are my legs. Yeah, and like I said, sure, I could make them straight, but that's boring. And I want to do something else. So I'm going to make them curved and radiused here. How radiused, how curved, you may ask? I don't know. I'm not sure how much I can get on this right here, because as I roll this thing through, it's going to take this long piece and then curve it up. And that is all 4 legs in that piece right there. And I leave it that way because if I try to cut the legs out individually and then roll them, this roller will leave like a flat spot right here that it won't curve for about 3 or 4 inches. And I want it to be curved from end to end all the way. So I'll leave it all together, roll it all in one big unit, and then I'll cut it up in what I want. And then cut those flat spots off of it. So my thought is the curved legs. It's also got to be modular so I can break it down in a smaller piece and get it through a door and then transport it, at any point in time. It won't be moved a lot, but it needs to be able to be moved at some point. And again, so I've got this idea, and I want to use an engine connecting rod. I just like the look of it, and they are I-beam steel, kind of I-beam shape. And then this is a real small block Chevy connecting rod, like goes inside of an engine. So I want to use those, and here's the idea for 2 reasons. One, styling, because I like that, to give a nod to the industrial aspect. But also, on this table right here, I need to be able to, like I said, break it down and disassemble it and make it into smaller pieces so it can be moved. So my thought is, obviously the wood top here then will come off, and then it's going to have a shelf down here, which I want to try to do some decorative kind of ends on it there. And then a shelf down here on the bottom too. And so I need a way to like support the shelves. I need a way to, break it down. And so I'm going to use these connecting rods right here, and I got them drawn out to represent that here and here. I'm not sure if I'm going to use one here. I might not. But the thing is, when I take this top off, then I can unbolt it right here and there and there and there, because as you see, that comes unbolted and then separates right in the center. I will weld this right there to that, and the same over here. And that gives me a good solid connection. And when I want to disassemble it, all I have to do is take those nuts off, and the side will come off of each side. And obviously I'll have some sort of bolt connection down here, so I can take those off. And anyway, and this, I'm going to connect these with just some short pieces of this channel iron right here. I want to kind of make it kind of decorative and, aesthetically pleasing. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, but I'll figure something out. It's no hill for a climber. But anyway, that's where we're starting on it. It's going to be, these have to be roughly, well, at the end of the project, I'm going to have rollers on the bottom of the legs, little small wheels on it, that casters, you might say, locking casters. And it needs to be from the floor up to here, 36 inches. So by the time I allow for the casters, and then I have to allow for the bend in it, I figure I'm probably going to need about, well, I've got a 12-foot chunk here, so I'm going to cut it up in 4 pieces, and that would be 3 foot. So I think by the time that I bend this right here, that will naturally shorten it, and whatever it shortens it, I will make up for by the wheel and the top here. And if it comes about an inch under 36, I'm okay with that. But anyway, we're going to see what we can do here. But I just want to document the process. So how this happens is, this just rolls through these rollers right here. There's a roller here, and then there's a roller on the opposite side here. And so as this rolls through, there's a roller on the top, and I will screw that down, and that puts pressure in between and will basically bend that bar down. So I just tighten it down so it bends it a little bit, and then I roll it. It rolls through. It will go through and then start to curve up. And then I'll take it out, screw it down, put it back in. It'll roll in, and then it will roll up even more. Take it back out, put it back in, screw it again, and it will roll up even more as I adjust that down. So we'll see how tight I can get this. The thing is, I'm not sure how tight that I can make that radius. I'm not sure how tight that this steel is going to want to give that much. So we'll see how close I can get it. So anyway, that's the process. And I'll let you kind of watch this while I'm doing it. Getting my steel. So this is where I'll start my process, and this is where I purchased my steel for the table base. And this place totally has the feel for my project that I'm going for, and it takes me back to my youth. So we'll start right here. Get rid of this. On it. Let's see if we can start to roll it. Let's try to roll over. Maybe get something to bring that up. Anyway, you can kind of see the process. It's going to be slow. Oh my gosh. What are we building here? A roller coaster? Well, I'll take it. I'm pretty happy with that radius. I wanted it just a little tighter, but I think I'm asking too much. Now I've just got to straighten it out, meaning flatten it out. Yeah, it sure takes a beating on the metal and makes your hands nasty too. New steel is dirty. You can see there it mashing the piss out of them corners when it rolls. And not only that, but it makes a little lip on the backside here, mashing it down. Because those were flat, square edges, and now they're slightly rounded over from those rollers. Creates a lip right there. I'll have to probably just take a little buffer and knock that off, but now I gotta cut it in half. Make sure that this is radius the same as that, because I put a tight radius in the center and I kind of laid off here. I'll have to tighten that up. Be easier to work with it cut in half. I can work one half and then work the other half separate. It's a lot easier to handle. Then we'll cut it up into 4 pieces. Chink, chink, chink. 1, 2, 3, 4. Got a little crook right in here. It kind of bugs me. It probably won't show. I'm trying to get that out. But now you can see it's not corkscrew now. Not much anyway. I don't think it's hardly any. You know, I think I could live with that. Pretty happy about that. And so yeah, so now I just got to straighten this other piece up. And after I do that, cut it in half, and I'll have 4 legs on all of them. Hot Rods Woodshed, doing the metal fab work. Thank y'all for watching. Peace out. Onward and upward. Do the next one, part 2. So in this shot, I'm trying to take some of this corkscrew out of it and kind of flatten it out using this roller a little bit different than I was using it previously to curve it. I'm trying to hit the corkscrew curve spots on the flat that I want to flatten out. And I'm using it like that so I can get it knocked down and get it straight, because you know I've got my overall curve in it that I want, but I'm trying to get rid of this undesired corkscrew effect. So that's what I'm working on right here, and I put it in fast motion so you know it goes kind of quick, because this stuff can be kind of draggy, slow, you know, the process. So as you can see here, I have 2 pieces. Each piece will be 2 legs in each piece, so I have all 4 legs contained in these pieces. I just have to cut them up. So that's what I got. I think I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm gonna take some of this right here and cut it to go in between and weld on here and weld on here. It'll just fill in between there, because that needs to be solid. Same thing over here. Fill in there, weld on there. The bottom shelf is going to set here. There'll be a brace running through that'll be welded to that cap, so it'll be able to take it off, unbolt it there, and then take it off. Same thing on the top. Be a brace welded on top of this cap right here, actually. So that'd be the top of the table. And you'd be able to take that cap off right there with the nuts. So that brace will come off. And this will be the side. And of course the braces will run straight across. Same thing here. You'll be able to take those nuts off and pull that out and separate the cap and the rod. The cap staying with the a leg here, and that going with this, staying with this, and this, and this will all be welded together with a piece. We'll miter it right here and run up to here, and then we'll miter there and run up to there, and essentially make a diamond in there, and there, and then I'll weld those to that joint right there and weld it to there, like there. And the same thing over here, and weld it to there and there. So that center panel from here up there and there and there will be one welded piece that will structurally hold it together, but you'll be able to undo those bolts and be able to separate the legs from that centerpiece. I'm pretty happy with it though. And there'll be two sides like this, and then there'll be braces running across, welded on here, welded on there, and welded on up here, and those will tie the two left and right leg, or the two end legs together, and I won't have to take those apart. That'll make for a good rigid base that you can still break down and kind of get it small enough that you can move it easily. Anyway, a lot of thought. I was thinking it's one thing for people to do a project, but you got to engineer it. You got to make it look good, attractive. You got to make it work. You got to make it solid. You got to make it functional. It's got to work. It's got to hit. It's got to check all the boxes. And that's the part that I am proud of, that I'm able to do that. And that's what I work to try to do. I don't want to just get one part of it and then forget the other and it be kind of, close but no cigar. I want it to hit the bullseye. Anyway, it's do my soul good to build you a table. So I've been in the shop all day long, pretty happy with it. And anyway. Connecting rods. Hey you guys, so now we're going to move on to the section of the table with the top, and how I'm going to do that, just kind of give you a brief description, So I'm just going to use, like yellow pine, BC plywood. It's economical, it's decent looking, solid. So anyway, then I've got both sheets stacked up there. I'm going to have 3 foot, 3 foot. So it's going to be 6 foot by 6 foot total. So I've got them stacked up when I cut them. So I'm going to put a hinge on one side, that continuous hinge right there. I'm going to attach it on one side, and then I'm going to rim the opposing edges that are going to show with the cherry to give it a little bit of bling bling, some like real cherry wood. But the thing is, where I put this hinge on, most people would just simply screw it to the edge of the plywood here. And again, remember, there's 2 sheets there. They would just screw it to that. But I don't feel that will hold adequately under extreme conditions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, like in addition to rimming it with a cherry around then to give it a border, I'm also going to put a piece of oak down the edge of that on each piece right there together, so that that oak is harder wood and that hinge will go in that oak. Not only that, but this hinge is 3/4 of an inch tall when I install it like that. So I need 3/4 of thickness, which I don't have here. I have 5/8. So that'll also thicken that up and give me, like a 3/4 at least thickness. And that'll make that hinge a lot more solid than to screw into. So anyway, let me show you what I got cut for that. So these are my pieces that I've got cut out for that. Some cherry that I had right here, and some oak right here and oak right here. So those will be used there. And this cherry and cherry and cherry. So give you a brief description of what it takes to make rough sawn wood work, because I'm used to using rough sawn wood. And if you'll sight down that, you can see on the top of this edge, you can see a little bit of wiggle, like a bow in it slightly. Let's see if we got, see here we have a bow upwards in that piece right there. I'm dragging it over here where you can see it. There is a bow upwards. Hold on, let me get, and I need to get that out of there, or for the most part get it out. You can see it there even more than ever. And sometimes it doesn't matter, and sometimes it does. So, and plus I need to get this, there is the bow down in it. So I need to get this rough sawn off of it right here. And because that adds an element of irregularity and a little bit of up and down kind of thing, you might say. So I need to straighten that up. And what I do is I run that on this tool right here. I run that across, and that will cut the bottom edge. And since that's a good flat bed, a 6-foot bed, it will get that piece good and straight. Take multiple passes until you get it straight enough where you're happy with it. And then we go from this right here, then we go from that to that. And that gives it a semi-smooth surface, a much more smooth surface. And it also straightens it up a little bit, enough that I can work with it. Here you can see it there. You see that little hump. Let me get my fingers on it. You can see that little hump right, where's it at? Right about here. And that's the kind of thing that we're really trying to eliminate more than that sway is sudden humps in it like this right here. That's what we're really trying to eliminate and straighten up. So because I've got to notch these, I've got to cut a notch in these, a 90-degree notch, so that these fit over that plywood, and I glue them on. And plus that gives it some rigidity. So when I put those pieces on there and edge it out, it makes this plywood less floppy. Although it's pretty stiff anyway, it adds and makes it more rigid and stiff and flat, but also it makes it look thicker and finished and good. So anyway, that's what we're doing, and continue on. So now we're going to put the dado notch in this right here. what that does is it puts data on there for some of my plywood then will fit in there. It'll actually end up like this on the finished product. So what that is like a super wide blade right there. It's a stacked dado. So it's a super wide blade, it's a stacked dado. So my buddy Mitch gave that to me. Boy, it's really come in handy. I've used it a lot. Anyway, wow, I had no idea that was going to require so many clamps to hold that border on. Once that glue dries, I can take them off. And I got to do another piece like that. Wow, I had no idea it was going to require so many clamps to hold that border on. Took almost every pipe clamp that I had. I've got a lot of those clamps there. So that right there is what making this whole table has been about for me. It's knowing that something I do, that I touch, that I think about, my thought process in my hands are wrapped around someone and making them feel important, cared for, appreciated, you know, like that right there. You know, it's knowing that I got this, you know, that's the reason why I made that table. I know, again, it's not an intimate thing. It's it's a soul satisfying friendship thing. It's a, you know, help somebody out thing. You appreciate my craft, and this is what I'm going to give you for that, because I like what you do as well. So here's the skinny on the table. So I did change. Originally, I was just going to put a cross in there, and I decided on a diamond. I thought it was structurally better, and I thought it would actually be more aesthetically pleasing. Anyway, here's the skinny on it. So this thing looks big, but it breaks down really easy, and it's good and solid. So when you want to break it down, like these right here come unbolted, and that splits in half. That stays with that, and that stays with that. Same way here. This top support comes unbolted right there and there. So that will come off, the cap stays with this rod right here. Same thing down here. That comes unbolted, that comes off and splits. And the same thing on the bottom down here. Comes unbolted there, and this cap part comes off, and that brace stays with the cap. So pretty much you can only go together one way, and everything's marked with numbers. If you notice here, I got a number stamped on everything, so there's no mistaking it, you know. Anyway, so it breaks down. So the only thing I've got left to do is I need to paint it, and that's probably not going to happen as cold as it is right now. But I'm getting really close to being done with it. So as we get ready to prepare for the top, I need to chase these threads and clean the paint out of them right here. Make sure that they turn easy. And they do. Yeah, that's the scars you get working on stuff like this. So now this will go in there, and that's what's gonna hold the top down right there. And there's one there, and one right down there. One right there. And one right there. I think I need to put the little cherry thing right here, I think. And I think I need to make it just slightly elliptical, just slightly. So I'm going to join this top together with this top here. Originally I was going to put a hinge on it, but I'm concerned that if I do, those will be tied together permanently unless you take the screws out. And it'll be too much to handle this big piece right here tied with that big piece. It'll be like, even though you can hinge it and fold it in half, it's still too heavy for most people to handle. So I've decided to use a dowel system. And here's what I did. So this is a jig that I made because I knew I had to be super, super accurate. That hole is an incorrect hole. That one's the first one that I drilled in the wrong spot. That one is the correct hole right there. So I used this and got it centered in this rail here. And I knew that the metal would keep the drill bit from wandering around. And I used a 1/4 inch. So I first started with this one here. And I drilled it out with one size smaller than a 1/4 inch. And then I used my thread tapper here and I ran some threads down in it. And then I took a bolt and cut the head off, and then I screwed that down in it until it was tight. Left about 3/4 protruding up. Did the same thing here, took accurate measurements of the center line, wrote them down, and I used this then to also drill those right there. So I know that they are centered coming off of the bottom edge here. And so as far as I like the spacing, I'm taking a chance that I can get it accurate. But ideally, you'd like to have a piece of metal running here all the way over to this pinhole right here, and you would drill a hole through that piece of metal, and you would just use that as a template. But I think this right here then will be adequate. So by doing this, I'm putting the dowel pins in it, so that keeps then the top or the two tops from going up and down, and it keeps it aligned up so that when it's installed, whoever puts it together in the future, it'll always ensure that these ends are straight. And I've got screw holes that will go in the center that will screw down to a metal tab right there, and that will hold the top down. And that also ensures that those screws will line up with those tabs that I have welded on there. So anyway, a little trick I got there, using that as a template. Initially, I was thinking about putting a decorative block on here to kind of cover this right here, because that will be the shelf right there, and that will show from the side. Initially, I was trying to gonna hide that through kind of a decorative approach here. But now that I look at it with that, I'm not sold on that. I think it takes away from the swoopy point right there that I do like. And I don't think that this looks quite that bad as much as I thought it would. And that takes away from that swoopy outward sweep. And I don't know that I am all on board then with that. I don't know. What do you think? Or the wood? Even at the midnight hour when I'm getting ready to deliver this thing tomorrow, I needed to install the bottom shelf. I had it already cut, already finished, just a matter of bolting it in. I decided to use one of the bolt holes for the wheels that go on the bottom there. The wheels are held on by two other bolts, so that when I can take it out and the wheel doesn't fall off. And this will hold this down. But when I install this and when I look at it and I see this bump right here, just something for you to slide something in, you know, and then catch it on that right here. So I don't like that. And so I need to make something for it. Now let me bring something up, a little side story. Originally, I had in mind of putting a little piece of wood right in here to kind of cover all of this. And this is kind of what I had in mind to go on there, then to fit the curvature of that, come down with the bottom of the metal there. And from a side angle, it would cover that and give it a little bit of a wood look, you know, the whole thing being some cherry trim on it, you know. But after I got all these cut and I clamped it up there and got back and looked at it, I didn't like it. So, the reason why, I like this angle right here being accentuated more than I did with that. That seemed to cover this up. And yeah, it covered up this utilitarian part, but this utilitarian part had lines that I liked that hid, and I didn't like it. So I decided to leave them off, even after I'd cut all 4 of those for each side, which just goes to show that in design, just because you cut something out and you know have it ready and you go to the effort to put it on there doesn't mean it still belongs on there. You know, making the effort doesn't justify why you put ornate things, you know, on a project. To me, it needs to fit tastefully, and that just didn't work. No matter if I had it cut out or not, it just didn't work. So I didn't use them. But right at the last minute, I'm seeing this, and this bothers me, right? So what I think about is a piece of cherry there. How can I do that? Well, here's what I got in mind. So I took this piece of cherry and cut it out. So my thought process was, I know Emily's going to be sliding, so she's the gal I'm making this table for. She's going to be sliding stuff in and out of here. What? I don't know. Could be boxes. We're just going to say boxes. if this is in here and somebody goes to slide a box in like this right here, boom, it hits on that, you know, and that ain't cool. So that's not what I call ergonomically correct. So I think, man, if I could do this right here, then it would kind of give me a place then to countersink this, and it would also ramp your box up and go smoothly over it. Well, maybe that'd be the way to go. And that gives a piece of cherry, and it gives this little cherry accent. So very much like I did down here. So we got that, and then we got this, and that to me works. You can see I got it countersunk in there. And if you go to slide stuff over, it'll just slide right over the top of it, you see? It'll just slide right over top of it. Yeah, and I used a little Conder's gold barbecue sauce then to glue that on there with. Not really barbecue sauce, but we're going to call it that. It's wood barbecue sauce. So that kind of, but you want to use it sparingly. You don't want it leaking out all over. And then I will touch this up with some polyurethane that I put on this, and that'll make it look good. So anyway, I like that look. And so that's what I'm going for, and try to fix this and make it look like that. Anyway, burning the midnight oil from the hot rod. Peace out, y'all.
So today's like Christmas Day for me, and you're my Santa Claus.
Well, I enjoy the gift because when I see it come to fruition and its completion and it works like it was intended, that's a gift for me.
I'm gonna pan some of the pieces laid out in the studio here. So over on the chair are these beautiful welded pieces. And Rod described to me that these are engine connectors.
Connecting rods. Right
Connecting
here,
rods.
Right here, and right here.
And honestly, those are my favorite of this whole design concept. I think they're quite beautiful. And then he's got cherry wood.
Tops, the tops.
Yeah.
And the shelves for the middle and the ends that the connecting rods bolt to.
Nice.
Even holds my big ass.
So that wasn't too bad.
Wasn't too bad.
We got the table all in place. It looks really good. Amazing work, Rod.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your craftsmanship and your friendship.
Absolutely.
I look at it, and I lived in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and I've got some Bethlehem steel vibes of the industrial with some modern.
And that's kind of what I was going for. I like, first off, I like that. And it just happens coincidence that you liked it as well. So we were like automatically on the same page without even really talking much about that.
Yeah, it's great.
And plus, the thing with steel is, you know, I'm a wood guy, but the steel provides me the ability to make a strong base that is solid, and you can make it small size and it will be solid.
It's amazing.
It makes it very utilitarian.
And I love this signature. So what people don't know is a few years ago, you took a sewing class with me.
Right.
And actually you were amazing because you have this gearhead mechanical mentality.
Right.
So it was a lot of fun, and you and I have had a lot of fun, you know, discussing your remakes of a vintage camper and a old truck and that, and I just have so much respect for you with your craftsmanship with the gearhead stuff.
Well, I see an obstacle in front of me, and instead of it stopping me, I figure out how to get around it.
Yeah. And I personally like to take apart old sewing machines and get inside the inner workings and gears of those, re-oil them, change belts.
Yes.
And to me, I would prefer those any day over a plasticky computerized machine that has all bells and whistles. So Rod, I was really like pretty incredibly surprised because your turnaround time on this was crazy. What motivated you?
Just the inner thing, the creative thing on the inside. And anybody who's creative knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
For me, I have an idea, and I want to see that idea in the physical form. And that's what drives me to get it in the physical form so I can get it finished and done and then touch it. And then, like example, bring it to you and get it to you where that you can use it. And I'm like going, completion. That is closure to me. Nice. And that's what drives me. And plus the ideas were flowing really good and easy.
Yeah.
And that's what made me able to knock it out pretty fast.
Well, I really appreciated you asking me questions back and forth as you were designing this.
Sure.
To make sure that I knew exactly what I needed and
Sure.
it would function right. So the woods I'm curious about.
So it's yellow pine plywood, and I chose that because it's lightweight. From the utilitarian aspect, it's very good and stable, and it works. Not overly amazing, but it's just nice and decent. But I put a cherry border around everything, and it's just a natural cherry to give it a little bit of a bling. I love this warm, rich look of cherry. Most people want to stain this and get it dark right off, but cherry will darken, and in a couple of years it will be look as if you did stain it. It'll be darker. So nice. I like that, but I usually like to go the natural route and not stain.
And it came in 2 pieces for the tabletop.
Yes.
Because I was rather insistent about 6 foot by 6 foot, and we went back and forth on that, and I just was wanting to be able to lay out an entire garment on both sides.
And I can totally understand that. And in fact, that's the important information that I need from people when I make something. However, I was a little hesitant because I wanted to make sure you knew how big a 6 foot by 6 foot table is. And I didn't want to spend the time and effort and then get it in here and then you'd be like, well, that's not going to work. So I needed to make sure to ask you like 10 times, are you sure that that will work for you, for the overall space?
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. I mean, I can lay a pair of pants out on one side and a top on the other side, and it's the same fabric.
Yeah.
So, good job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So here the table is in its final resting place, finished and completed. So happy with it. Very happy with it. It rolls wonderfully, strong, doesn't flex. I think I could dance on that. Use the cherry wood around the edges. So let's bring Emily in here, who I made the table for. Give you an introduction. So, introduce yourself, Emily.
I'm Emily Gartner, and I'm a textile artist, so I'm all about anything with fabrics, and more specifically, fashion design. And I refashion a lot of things, so I really appreciate this table because it's got some refashioned, upcycled auto parts as the framework.
Absolutely. From one artist to another. Yeah. I appreciate what you do, and I think you feel the same here.
I do.
Fantastic.
2 different types of gearheads.
Completely. It's nice to get closure and see a completed product.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, it rolls really good.
Love it.
All right. Job completed. We're out of here. See you later.